Welcome back. Welcome back to Penniacwilderness Wilderness. Just at the cabin today, and it's the morning. It's been really hot lately, so during the day there hasn't been really any bugs at all, but the mornings have been humid and a bit cooler, but still warm, so the bugs have been out. But yeah, so I have various projects on the go. So there's the woodshed that I've been working towards finishing, sort of at the stage of getting rafters on the top now. Well, sort of at the stage of milling the lumber for the rafters to then put on top. The mini cabin that I'm building with my neighbor is at the sawmill site down the road from here. And at the cabin, I've been also, I guess the other thing that comes with probably living off grid, living at a cabin or living in the country, is there's just a lot of little tasks that need to be done. So my background is I grew up in the country outside of a small city, and when I was growing up, you know, I was around all this sort of stuff, and then I ended up going away for school for a period of time, getting in student debt, focusing on getting my student debt paid off, and then kind of as that debt was being paid off and I was backing off on my workload, I transitioned into living back in the country. And there's some more details to the story, but that's a rough overview. And it's funny because growing up, I don't think I always loved splitting firewood or doing chores or all that stuff, but it's funny that now I seek that out as an opportunity. So where am I going with all that? I guess a point I was trying to make is just there's a lot of little tasks that need to be done living in the country, and from a YouTubing perspective, they're not always something that is going to be that interesting or that likely to generate views, but it's a reality of living either at a cabin or in the country. And so for me, some of the things that I've been working on lately would be gardens, firewood, milling lumber, just property maintenance. Like in the summer, the understory here starts to grow up quite a bit. I like to keep it whippersnipped every so often. So all those things do kind of add up, and you know, the way I'm doing it, I don't have always the right tool for the job all the time. So for example, when I'm hauling lumber, I have this old trailer that probably needs some work, and a part broke on that the other day. So sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to go. And that's, for me, that's been, you know, earlier on it would be more likely to be a point of frustration, but as I do this more, I recognize that things happen. There's lots of things that are outside of your control. It can often just be a learning opportunity, and so I'm trying to make the most of that and learn how things work more and how to fix things and how to be more self-sufficient, because that's really been the motivation of all of this, is to find or refine probably something like my roots, but also develop skill sets from what I already know, and new skills, so that I am more self-sufficient and able to meet needs for myself or my family or whatever. So I guess this wasn't really intended to be a reflection video, but those are some reflections. And I think living in the country, you know, everything in life has its pros and its cons. One of the things I do enjoy about living in the country is you know the people around you, at least to an extent, I think, that's generally speaking greater than I had when I was living in a city. So you know them, they'll visit you, you'll learn things. Like the other day I was working in the gardens and I had some visitors, and we talked about some of the old ways that the farmers used to farm and how they used to hoe dirt over their potatoes, because, you know, I'm just doing it with a hand tool. So these type of conversations, particularly with people who've been around longer than I have and who have wisdom, who've seen things that I haven't seen, who have skills that I don't have, and taking those opportunities to learn from them is something that I try not to take for granted. Anyway, today's plan is I want to split some more of this firewood. It's popple. So the reason I cut this tree, or this tree was cut down, is because I wanted to get more sunlight on my solar setup, and that's always a balance, because the trees are obviously nice for a lot of reasons, and they have their own intrinsic value and their shade value and whatnot, the value they have for the other life that lives around here. But at the same time, any amount of sun blockage throughout the day really cuts down on the amount of solar power I can generate. So I cut this one down. I'm going to leave most of the maples, but the other reason for this is it was a popple, and they do tend to, around here, have a tendency to blow over, and it would have been close enough to the cabin that it could have blown over and hit it. So we fell it kind of away from the cabin. We used a strap just to make sure that it went exactly where we wanted it to. And now I'm just cutting it up for firewood. Popple, it's half decent firewood. It's a very light hardwood, so it doesn't burn as long as some, but it has a nice smell and it does burn pretty well. So that's the plan. So split this up, then I think I have to do some work at the gardens. So check those, weed those, and then my last video I was using this product from Woodland Mills called a log lander. So it's like a skidding arch for hauling logs in the woods, and I do want to kind of give that a bigger test. So I'd like to find a big log and maybe some multiple small logs and see how much it can handle. I do wonder if I should do that with the four-wheeler or the tractor, because the tractor would certainly have a lot more traction just because of the weight. So anyway, we'll think about that. That might be a video I put out here sooner than later. So I'll split a bit more wood, head out, do some of those tasks, and go from there.